Don't do that. you're you're going to need somebody else in the studio soon to deal with that little problem you have.
This is what women with long hair must have to go through.
I'm sure that's exactly the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
They have to have their hair go down the back of this.
Hair back over my shoulders. Okay.
Something like that.
In this case, it's cable, not hair.
Cable hair.
Cable hair. That could be a new pay-per-view
thing. Ah, yes. About hair.
And cables. On cable. On cable. There we go. Hair on cable.
Well, this has been an interesting podcast so far.
Yes, thank you so much for listening. And we're done.
We're so funny. Oh, you know what? I don't have my lower third or the QA on. Wow, how unprofessional. I was too busy chit-chatting. I'm not busy enough doing my job.
We were talking about good barbecue.
We were talking about good barbecue. We were talking about Dickies.
Mm-hmm. Which apparently is only in America. There's no Canadian version of Dickies yet. Maybe you should become the franchisee to bring it into Canada.
Well, I could. Or I could find a job.
Oh, that is a job.
That's true. But that's a job that requires some form of investment to get started.
Yeah, that's true. It makes it expensive. Right.
And the Q&A. And I'm ready to go.
We have a viewer, and I'm guessing it's going to be our research department.
It could be. It could be one of several people.
That's true.
We do have a few regular viewers now, and we love each of them equally.
Exactly. We love you all the same. It is our research department. It's Bri Lang.
Good evening, Bri Lang. All okay. Right. Well, it's 9:01.
9:01. I'm going to kick us off. So I'm going to play some music and record. I'm going to record, play some music, and do the intro in that order. Order is
rock and roll.
We talk about this.
Yeah.
Here we go. Well, with that intro and it being Thursday night, all I can say is welcome to Caching in the Northwest. This is the only podcast dedicated to geocaching in the Great Pacific Northwest. We'll talk about caches and cachers unique to this little corner of the country. So, code your geocaching insights for analysis. It's time to go caching in the Northwest. Now, faithful listeners, last week we shared with you Land Monkey's epic and timely interview with Eric from geocaching.com. And this week, we'll hear the rest of the interviews he recorded with user insight analyst JaymeH. And speaking about analyzing, some say he can calculate pi to the billionth digit, and others say his brain is really just a Pentium processor. All we know is he's called Land Monkey.
Hey, yes, and it's probably a Pentium 1. Something like that if we're going to go that direction. But yes, thank you. And I will point out for those astute among us that our beloved Wits End is not able to join us this week, but he is chaperoning in the capital of the United States of America.
That would be that other Washington that we don't acknowledge.
That's the one. The one. But hey, you are absolutely right with that introduction, and thank you very much. This week, we are going to hear what I will refer to as the primary interview I was looking to record on my visit last week to the Lily Pad, aka geocaching.com HQ. So Eric, please don't take that personally. I really appreciated the time that Eric provided. And definitely we got some amazing scoops from Eric, which I've heard rumors may have been making appearances on other podcasts, which is really awesome. However,
I know for a fact we have.
there you go. We've got a bit of an inside edge with that too. But hey, what prompted the whole idea of going down in the first place was actually to get some interviews and have a conversation with JaymeH. As we've said to you, she is the user insights analyst, which is a fairly new role. She's been at that about a year, and I was really curious to hear how that's been going for her. So we thought, the bad cop and I were discussing, and I thought, hey, you know what? This would be a great opportunity to go down. And so when I pitched the idea to Eric, he said, absolutely, come on in. And then he was open to having some interview with him as well. So that just made the trip so much better. And the tour, and if you want to see photos from the tour, check out landmonkey.blogspot.ca and check out the blog.
Love it. Now I'm going to have to put that in the show notes since you mentioned a website.
Ooh, does that mean every time I mention a website, you have to do work?
Yes. Yes, it does.
Oh.
Well, I think we all want to help to make geocaching.com and the forums a better place. And
yes.
I know the listeners to Caching in the Northwest, they want to help each other find the coolest caches right here in the Northwest.
We believe you do. And listeners, we here at Caching NW want to hear from you. We tell you that every episode, but okay, let's be more specific. We want to share your favorite caches and caching locations in the Northwest in your own voice each week on this very podcast.
Hey, this is Retro from Surrey, BC. My favorite cache is Welcome to Peachland South, GC454Z6. I also have a YouTube video on it called Peachland Cache by Retro.
So there you have it. We have brought back the Caching in the Northwest tradition to play audio from you, our amazing listeners, on sharing your favorite cache or even caching location. So record it from the cache itself, record it from the comfort of your living room. We don't care where you are. We want to hear about those great caches that you're out there finding. Just simply record the audio and email it to us at feedback@cachingnw.com like Retro did, or you can call us 253-693-TFTC and leave your message right there. I have to say, Retro did a perfect job. We're looking for about 15 seconds of audio. That's enough time to say your geocaching name, the GC code, and the name of the cache, and why you liked it. So, because he did such a good job, Land Monkey, will you tell us what he won?
Of course, I'll tell you what Retro won. With that amazing impersonation he did of some Marvel characters that you can choose. Anyway,
vibe from him.
You know what? I said before we started the show that I wasn't going to tease Retro on air about that piece of audio, but I changed my mind.
Oh, no, you didn't.
So the first thing he won was for me to tease him on air. And the second thing that he won is these amazing proxy stunt double tags for travel bugs or geocoins from GX Proxy. So Retro, we have 4 of these. Four of these for you, sir. You come find me at the next event that we are both at, which may, see what I just did there? May be on the 2nd or the 3rd. And wow. I will give you your prizes.
And with a voice like he used, he will find you. And
yes, he will.
Hey.
My name's Retro and I want my tags.
Wow. Well, Retro's a listener. He's never going to call back in now. No, that's not true. We'll make fun of anybody.
Absolutely. Please let us make fun of you too.
So,
all right. Hey, so I'm sorry, back up. I got sidetracked there, but yes, we have got some more great audio, and it's the interview with JaymeH. So should we roll right into it?
I think we got enough audio. Let's go ahead and do that.
Awesome.
Thanks a lot for making the time to meet with me and to record an interview for our
our listeners who I'm sure are anxious to hear from you.
Betcha.
So, Jaime, do you mind if we just roll into it?
That's right. Let's do it.
Awesome. All right, Jaime. So, tell us, how did you first get interested in geocaching?
Well, my husband Ben introduced me to it in 2008.
Okay.
We had received a GPS for his birthday. Actually, he had received a GPS. We're married. I don't know. He received a GPS for his birthday because we're backpackers.
Okay.
So we used it for hiking and everything. And he had a friend of his take him geocaching a few years before he met me. He never logged the cache or anything, but he basically explained it like, hey, you want to go do this kind of weird geeky thing that I did one time where we found something in a tree? It's like,
you said, of course.
Sure. Why not? So we went, back then there was no app or anything. So we went online and looked up, we were living in Los Angeles.
Okay.
And we said, well, is there any around here? Let's see. We pulled up the website and we were amazed. There were so many. And we went to our first cache. Cache was right above Dodger Stadium.
Oh, interesting.
Elysian Field, or Elysian Park. So that kind of not archived, but that was our first cache and we just kind of never stopped. So,
Cool.
Yeah.
So great to know how you got into the hobby, sport obsession, as one of the podcasters calls it. So what interested you in working with the team here at geocaching.com?
So the funny thing is we visited here as geocachers,
Okay.
I think in 2010. So we've been geocaching for 2 years and we were up here visiting family because I'm from Washington State originally. I moved to Los Angeles for about 10 years to do some work down there. And we were home for Christmas and he said, hey, I think geocaching headquarters is in Seattle. We should go visit them. Really? It's there? Crazy. Okay. So he looked it up and we made an appointment and came and met some of the nicest lackeys ever and took a picture in the photo booth. And that was the old office where you posted it up on the wall.
Oh, wow.
They, the entire room was covered in pictures from the photo booth. So it was crazy, but we met the nicest people. And I said, oh my gosh, if we ever move back to Washington, we have to work here. And so we moved back to Washington about a year and a half later or so. And I just kept watching the job boards.
Okay.
And finally something popped up that seemed like it could be doable for me. And I interviewed and I was hired.
That's very cool.
Yeah. So yeah, it was pretty cool. It was definitely a dream job to be coming at it from having cached already.
Right.
Loved the game and pretty invested in the game.
Yeah.
And being able to look at the job board and be like, wow, there's something that I could do there. And then, coming and being part of the team.
Very
Great.
cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. It's always nice to see homegrown people come back and work in a company that they love.
Absolutely. And I don't know if you can really tell from listening to the audio, but JaymeH is just the most exuberant, fun, cool person to hang out with. And it was so enjoyable to do the interview with her. There's just so much energy in the room. And honestly, that's just the kind of people that seem to work or be hired at geocaching.com. It's just really, everybody I met there was up, enthusiastic, loved their job, loved being there. And it was a really positive experience. I really enjoyed that. But yeah, JaymeH is awesome. So, maybe I'll just interject with one little comment here before we roll the next part of the interview. And it's for folks who are looking to provide feedback. And we're going to get into that later in the show about how you can provide your feedback on a lot of these changes that are going on and that will be coming with the app or apps and the website, etc., and general gameplay. When you have the opportunity to provide JaymeH and Eric and Rock Chalk and Mountain Bike and anybody else who's participating there from geocaching.com with your feedback, remember to really just be constructive in your feedback. And remember that these are real, live, three-dimensional people on the other side of that keyboard who are really great people. So let's be positive.
Well, it's really important that you're positive at all times, not just in a forum. I mean, there's times to say, hey, I don't like this, but be respectful because it's other people that are reading it. And there's no reason that just because you're anonymous behind a computer screen, that doesn't give you the right to be rude. So
Agreed.
And it's easy to become detached. I'm just typing words, on the screen. It doesn't mean anything. Well, it really does. So there you have it.
All right.
So now we learned a little bit about, we got to know her a little bit better. So let's listen about more of her role at geocaching headquarters.
Sounds good.
Speaking of being part of the team,
Yeah.
Jayme, maybe not all of our listeners are familiar with you and what you do here. Maybe you could summarize that for us and give us a bit of an idea of how long you've been at it.
Sure thing, yeah. So my current role is called a User Insights Analyst. And so that means I bring the feedback and the voice of the community into product development meetings. So I am the community, advocating for the community when we are putting new features in products or making changes to products, bringing in their ideas and their opinions, saying, hey, this is really important. So
Okay.
I'm that person. And we never had that person before.
Right.
So the basic thought before this role was developed for me was that it's everybody's job to bring feedback in from the community. So when something is everyone's job, no one kind of owns it. So it's one of those things where there's lots of good intention to make sure we're listening to the community. Since no one was championing it, sometimes it didn't get as heard.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and I was going to say the second part of my question, which is I have been at this for about a year now.
Right.
Before this position, I was on the community side of things.
Okay.
So I was answering questions in the queue and help center questions, and then I was also involved in the forums, kind of bringing some new life into the forums before Rock Chalk took over the general forums.
Sort of like a moderator role in the forums, or
kind of trying to breathe some life from HQ into the forums, because a lot of times people had said HQ never listens to the forums, when really we were, but we weren't as actively participating by saying, hey, we're listening. So it was more of my job to get in there and say, awesome, thanks for the info, thanks for the feedback, hey, and then do some fun forms too, like take a picture of what you did last week and share it with us,
Right.
Like I'll share what I do with you too, because I'm out there geocaching too. So let's all be a community here in the forums. It was trying to bring more of a feel of, how do I say it? Like bringing a human feel to the forums. I feel like sometimes in the forums we forget there are humans on the other side of the keyboards.
Yeah.
So trying to bring some personality and some human touch to the forums. And I think that Rock Chalk has picked it up and done a great job after I moved from that role. So yeah. So I've been in this role for about a year, and it'll be my 2-year anniversary at Groundspeak coming up in May.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. So a congratulations due soon on 2 years at here.
So there you have it, a little bit about what she does. And, it's funny that she mentions Rock Chalk, because just this weekend, excuse me, I was out and about and found or completed a Rock Chalk Where I Go. How often do you find a Where I Go? And yet one that person we were just talking about. So just one of those coincidences.
That's pretty cool. That's a great coincidence. Fun little story. And yeah, I think JaymeH just sort of followed up on the point that we made earlier about remembering that there's people too. And yeah, so let's keep on going with the interviews here. I don't have too much more to interject, but certainly if anybody in the Q&A has any comments or questions, we'd love to hear them as well while we go. Next up, we're going to ask JaymeH about aspects of her job that she hadn't expected before she started there.
With the new role, a year is about a good amount of time to kind of feel it out and get established. And certainly those of us who've been looking at the forums and kind of following what you've been doing, what geocaching.com has been doing since you've taken that role, certainly it seems that there's definitely some progress in what you're talking about, the sense that people are listening, which is great.
Good.
What did you find most surprising or unexpected about this role since you've taken it on?
I think so. This is an interesting question because I was trying to think of what surprised me the most, and there's so much gratefulness that comes from people. Not that that's surprising, but a lot of people are saying like, "Holy moly, thank you so much for listening,"
Okay.
and that is surprising. But I think just because people didn't know, because we weren't as active in the forum. Like I'm thinking of before I worked here, and I was just a geocacher out there in the community. I guess I didn't know if people were listening. Maybe I think Jeremy would pop in every once in a while and say something. And but yeah, there's a lot of gratitude for the different insights that we're gathering.
Well, I can see, to your point, I can definitely see as you said earlier, in the online world, in the forums, where people tend to forget that there's a human on the other side of the keyboard. Probably getting some gratitude back would be a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, I think something that surprised me with the role in general was that it was something that didn't exist before.
Interesting. Okay.
Basically I wanted to expand my role and said, okay, like what can I do? And someone said, well, how about, the feedback loop? All right, I'm in. And so it was kind of like this company is really cool in that regard, where if you see something that you feel like you could step into, go for it.
Wow.
They encourage that. So
very cool.
Yeah.
I like that. Geocaching.com, the HQ there, has won many awards for being a great workplace. And listening to your employees and say, hey, I really want to go this way is one of the reasons why they're a good workplace.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I talked to Eric about that as well a little bit, and got some other insights from him as to other aspects of the workplace that the people there feel support it being a good workplace, and what the founders have done and just the ethos that they've created and that they continue to build is great. So there's a whole lot of factors that go into that, and that'd be another IT management podcast about building great IT workplaces. But that was a lot of fun. We got to hear from Jayme what was the biggest surprise, and do we have any no, I guess nothing in the Q&A coming up yet, so I guess we can just keep rolling.
I think we should keep rolling to the fourth part of the interview, the most challenging part of her job.
So Jayme, the corollary to my question is, what have you found most challenging about your role?
There's so much need for feedback. So I find it challenging to keep up with running these user insights forums over here while trying to get block party innovation games ready over here.
Right.
And then trying to prep the guerrilla games for product travel this summer and trying to get those games ready. And then responding to some of our playtester groups and making sure they're aware of the new things that are out and updates, and going to meetings to advocate for all of these, because there's 3 different development teams.
Right.
So we have the mobile team.
Yeah.
And then we have 2 web teams.
Okay.
So I'm the advocate for customer voice.
For all 3.
For all 3.
Wow.
So that's probably the most challenging thing, is to keep up with all the feedback and make sure that I am truly staying on top of bringing the voice in.
All right.
For all of those.
So it's not only collecting all that information, that feedback in the various games, etc., and online forums, but also making time to be working with those 3 separate development teams to make sure that feedback's, wow, how do you do it?
Sometimes I don't get to do it all myself, which is because I have an amazing team that supports me. So sometimes when they don't see me in the user insights forum and they're saying, whoa, mountain bike is asking these questions now,
Right.
where did JaymeH go? It means I'm working on something else. So I have an amazing team that steps in to support me. So John sometimes will fill in and run a user insights session or a forum post. And the product owners, they are getting into the forums. They're listening to everybody as well. I want everybody to know that it's not only me and
Yeah.
John that listen, but the product owners are amazingly intrigued with what the community has to say.
Okay.
And they are paying attention to the survey results. They're paying attention to the forums. So they're in there reading as well. So I don't get to do it all.
That's probably for the best that you're not expected to do it all.
Exactly.
Nothing like a good team.
Yeah, no, and this product team really cares.
That's
about
awesome.
What's going into their products. So.
Cool.
You know, that is really good to hear. I mean, how many times, Land Monkey, have you dealt with a product or an app and you look at it and you go, why did they make these improvements? Do they even use this thing?
Yeah, I can think of a couple of occurrences of that. Well, and I think really that's what a lot of people have been thinking with respect to geocaching.com, which is why they came about with developing JaymeH's role there, which is really to do exactly that. She's explained it. She's listening to everybody. She's actively seeking input. And next we're gonna hear about a little bit more about how she actually does that and how we can get involved, which is fantastic. But I think it's just really interesting to be able to have a better understanding about that. And it's one thing to gripe about changes that are made, whether it's the whole thing with the challenge caches, whether it's new functions on the website or changes of functions in the app. It affects all of us. But the thing we have to keep in mind is that it's a global game. So the way it affects somebody here in the Northwest, and even in maybe the demographic subdivision of the Northwest, might be a minor inconvenience for the bonus that it gives somebody playing in, I don't know, Australia, because they play the game differently there. They play it backwards and upside down. I don't know. But just to sort of make the point that the considerations that the development teams need to be thinking about as they move the product and the I'll call it the business processes, but what we're talking about is how you play the game. As those evolve and change over time, that it's a global perspective that needs to be kept in mind. And it's hard when it affects you as an individual. And I get that as well.
Exactly. And everybody has, individual feelings and connections to the game. And when it changes, you think, well, that's not fair. That's not the way I play it. But, it could just be a small minority that feel that way. They can be vocal, but they're still a minority. So we have to think of the bigger picture. And that's really what JaymeH gets to see. She gets to see the bigger picture.
Absolutely.
So let's go on and listen to the final part of the interview with JaymeH.
So maybe on that note, how can geocachers find out about and share their thoughts on new ideas for the game? You mentioned some of the, I think you said guerrilla games, which I hadn't heard of before.
Yeah.
And then I'll hand it over to you.
Yeah,
Tell
sure.
us more.
So we have a few different ways that we collect feedback. So we have the user insights forums, which
Right.
we typically start with kind of blue sky concepts.
Okay.
Very open-ended questions, very like, hey, tell us all of your thoughts about this, or, answer these questions and, give your opinions in with these. So we typically will start a development process with the user insights forums, and those will be open for a set amount of time.
Right.
So then we can close them and I can analyze the feedback. Because if they're open forever, then I can really never capture everything.
Gotcha.
So we close them eventually. And then from there, so people can give their feedback that way. From there, we usually take it to a closed-ended option. So taking some of the ideas we heard from people in the forum and putting them in a survey. And we'll have a link on a webpage where everybody in the world who clicks on the link can take it. Sometimes we would send it out to a targeted group of people.
Okay.
So there's that survey stuff. And then after the survey stuff, we develop games from some of the stuff in the forums. So the guerrilla games that I'm talking about is when product team travels to different mega events around the world. And we're going to go to 3 this year. We're going to go to one in Czech Republic, one in Germany, and one in Sweden. And it's basically an on-the-fly
Okay.
prioritization game.
So sort of like that. So when you say guerrilla, this has nothing to do with the ape caches. It's like guerrilla marketing kind of concept.
It's
Okay.
like in the,
It's a guerrilla with a U, not an O.
Exactly. So I basically have a little thing that I made that's a Velcro strip, and I have a bunch of laminated features that would be in a tool that we would have on our website, right?
Yeah.
And I would have about 20 features that all have Velcro on them and say, okay, what do you think? Like, are we going to stick one feature up here? Do you think this next feature is higher priority or less of a priority than this one?
Interesting.
And we'll go through and do that with different pages on the website.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that is what I mean by a guerrilla game. It's something that needs no planning, no conference room booking, no like nothing in advance. Like it's different than the HQ block party games.
Gotcha.
The planned innovation games, where there's a lot more planning and prep involved.
Okay.
So yeah, anybody can play. I don't have to take down names or anything, and we take a picture after each group goes through. So then we bring that data back and we correlate it and add
Fascinating.
it all up. Yeah.
Do you find, so I'm going off script now, but
No,
this is really
okay.
interesting to me. With the guerrilla games, do you find that there's any kind of, I'm going to use the word demographic, but any kind of region or location where the answers tend to be the same and different than other areas? Like, for example, geocachers in the Pacific Northwest versus geocachers in Germany or England or.
So the interesting thing is we actually haven't played guerrilla games in the US. We've only
okay.
done it when we travel, just because a lot of times those guys don't have the opportunity to come to block party.
Right.
So that we actually haven't played guerrilla games in the US, which would be possibly a good idea. Because we do other prioritization games at block party. And we're also actually going to bring the innovation games, the planned innovation games to geocaching in Georgia.
Okay.
I think that's in October. So we do another planned games then. So as far as different regions, we did our first guerrilla games last year, and they weren't actually product travel planned things. We were just going because we got selected as a geo guide through the Lackey program to go. And I thought, well, shoot, I'm new in this role. If I'm going to go, I might as well bring back some insights. So I just created these things and we took them with us. So they've only been played so far in Germany and Spain.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I think that we have noticed some differences in geocachers as far as social norms and things that they prefer versus the way the US might prefer based on some other stuff we've done. So yeah, so it's good to think with an open mind. That's why it's the product team. It's such an interesting thing to kind of be immersed in the entire world of geocaching. Before I was hired here, I knew how LA geocached, how Southern California geocached. I knew what they really liked, right? They like numbers a lot of the time, and there's this thing that the caching 500, so you clean out your closest 500 at home.
Okay.
They were really into that. And then we moved up to Washington State. It was all about puzzles and then streaking and challenges. So it was every region, even if it's within the US or even probably within Washington State, has their own kind of
the way they play the game.
Yeah, exactly.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
And so you're trying to learn about that and how to use that information to improve the game experience for people.
Mm-hmm. And so that's why I'm jumping ahead a little bit.
Yeah, go for it.
But one of the things that geocachers can help improve the game is try to explore other facets of the game. Try and jump outside of your local area's way that they play the game and see how maybe others in the world might play. If you guys don't do a lot of challenges in your area, try that. If you don't do a lot of puzzles in your area, maybe try some puzzle caches. Because in Germany and Europe, they are big on huge on puzzle caches.
Right.
And they're huge on multi-caches, right? There might be a 40-point multi-cache.
Yes, I've had one of my trackables stuck in one of those for a while.
Oh no! So it's making yourself a well-rounded cacher, so you can think like the
Okay.
product team thinks. Because when we're thinking of solutions, a lot of people recommend solutions to us in user insights forums or through survey comments. And the thing is, they'll recommend a solution,
Yeah.
and that may work for that one area.
Yeah.
But when we look at things, we have to think of everything and think, well, this will work great for you guys, but how do we make it work for these guys over here who need this?
Right.
So yeah,
That's fantastic, Jamie. So maybe I'll just one more question for you.
sure.
With the games that have happened at the block party before, will that happen again this year?
Yep, we're doing the games again this year, the week leading up to Block Party.
Yeah.
So they are all booked.
Oh, wow.
Unfortunately, they went fast. We're doing 4 different sessions and 21 people in each session, so we get 84 people total spending a couple hours with us and taking a tour.
Amazing.
of the office.
How were those announced?
They were announced with people who had put Will Attend logs on Block Party a few months ago.
So you got to be the first ones to do your will attend. Don't hesitate on your will attend.
And so the tickets haven't been released for going caching yet. They'll probably be released sometime in September. So
Okay.
for the innovation games specifically, I know they're doing a bunch of other prep already that you can get things for. But for innovation games specifically, they'll release tickets, I think, in September. So if you are going to Georgia for going caching, keep your eyes on the cache page around September.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Jamie, thank you very much for your time today. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
And hopefully our listeners have learned a lot about how they're being listened to by geocaching.com.
Yeah. You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Thanks a lot.
Well, there you have it. Now, Jamie mentioned several times going caching. So if you're interested in that, you go to goingcaching.com. It's a geocaching mega event in Rome, Georgia, October 15th through 18th, 2015. So it's coming up. You'll still have a chance to go. If you go, let us know. Let us know how it is. I hear wonderful things about going caching.
Yes, I think I remember seeing some highlights from that. In fact, I believe it was our friend Dave DeBear who had shared on his blog some of the highlights that I saw from last year's event, going caching event, which looked like just a blast. I believe they had, if I have the correct event in mind, they had a GPS guided people-drawn chariot race that they were doing. That seems to me to be the right event where that was happening. But yeah, they obviously have a lot of fun. One of the other things that I thought was really, really cool out of that conversation with Jamie, again, we've talked a few times about getting the feedback in there, but the whole concept of the guerrilla games, the whole ape cache pun aside, but it was really interesting to me because obviously I had recorded this interview. I already knew what Jamie and I had talked about, but we hadn't had a chance yet to share it with our listeners until tonight. And this morning, I was just listening to the geocaching podcast, and they were talking about the whole challenge cache situation. And one of the things that one of the hosts on that podcast was talking about was, oh man, they should really have some way where they can just go to events and sit down with people and sort of prioritize the different ideas. And it's like, I'm listening to the podcast. They do. Just tune in tonight and listen.
Ew. Nice.
So that was kind of funny.
So it's, we think, well, they don't listen to us. They don't, know how their app is being used. They really do. They do take the time to listen. So Land Monkey, thank you so much for driving not only several hundred kilometers, but across borders to get an absolutely great couple of interviews.
Well, thank you very much, Bad Cop. And listeners, there's very little that I won't do for you. I love you all. Now, on that note, we want to remind you, great listeners, to check in again next week on May 7th. We've got Lookout Lisa joining us, and she is going to join us to talk about another great mega event closer to home, the Tri-Cities GeoCoin Challenge, which Mrs. Land Monkey and I are very interested in seeing if we can make our way down for that event this year. Now, to keep you all posted of what episode is coming up next and who might be showing up on our podcast next, please check the show website at cachingnw.com.
So, Land Monkey, where can people find out more about what you do from time to time, maybe in the realm of social media?
Ooh, social media. I loves the social medias. Folks, you can follow me on Twitter at LandMonkeyGC. And if you go to the Facebook, check out Facebook/Team LandMonkey. And I was just going to say, since Wits End isn't here, I'll throw out his coordinates for folks, which is very creatively at Wits End for Twitter, and Facebook is Facebook/Wits End.
Right. Wasn't that consistent? I was pretty close. Twitter, I'm the bad cop. Facebook.com/CachingNW. And Google Plus, that's where I hang out a lot. Google.com/+CachingNW.
Sneaky. All right. Well, folks, we want to thank you for taking the time to listen to this episode of Caching in the Northwest. You can be part of the show. We've told you that, and we're going to keep telling you that. Call 253-693-TFTC and leave us a comment, some monkey chow, a correction, a question, anytime, the day or night. And of course, you can email us at feedback@cachingnw.com. Also, your support helps to keep quality shows coming. If you like this show, if you loved our interviews and you want me to travel more for interviews, please click the PayPal button on the cachingnw.com website. This show is licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license, copyright 2015 by Chris Infinauer.
Good night, folks. And we're clear.
Cache safely and cache often.
Well, now it's too late.
Well, I didn't want to, wanted to make sure you had the last word. I didn't want to try and barge my way in there.
Aren't you nice? You Canadians are so polite.
That's right. You keep telling people that.
Okay.
We've got a reputation to hold up here.
Exactly.
Awesome. No, that was so much fun. I'm almost sad that we've now used up all the interviews from my visit, but I guess we'll just have to go back again sometime. But JaymeH was just so amazing to talk to. Just a bundle of energy, and so enthusiastic and so passionate about her job. I think as geocachers, I think we really need to recognize that we're actually fortunate to have somebody in that role with that much enthusiasm for the role. Enthusiasm.
No, you have it right. It's important that, it really sounds like she loves her job, and her job is a good fit for her personality.
Yes.
That really makes a difference. Being able to not only love your job, but it fits with your personality. I mean, I can tell you've met some people who were destined to be accountants. That's what they do. That's what they love. They're not flamboyant, outgoing people. Their personality fits the job that they've chosen, or their job they've chosen fits their personality. That's the way. And you find that people will work in this, work in their job years and years and years because it's really a good fit for them. So,
yeah,
I think it's interesting.
It is interesting. It was a great visit. And, as we may have discussed previously, I even had a great visit on my way back after the visit down there where I had dinner with the bad cop at a Dickie's.
Oh, yes. Oh, I didn't know if you were talking about me or somebody else you stopped and saw along the way.
No, sir. I was talking about you and the fun dinner we had and the business meeting we had where we made all of our Machiavellian plans to take over the podcasting universe.
Well, as coincidence has it, I don't really believe in coincidence, but I'll just keep throwing those words out there. I was even norther than you were at a training class. So I said, hey, on your way back up, stop and I'll buy you dinner. You've had a full day out. So it worked out really well.
It did.
Yes, we did. We planned out several months of podcasting goodness just for you. And in fact, we can see those plans already taking effect right now, because just in the month of May, no, we're not in the month of May. In the month
just in the month of April,
there's been a 70% increase in the number of downloads of this particular podcast. So we're doing something right.
You guys are awesome. Everybody who's listening to this podcast, and make sure you keep telling all your friends
that you're awesome.
That you're awesome, and that you found a podcast that appreciates just how awesome you are.
Exactly. So there you have it. I'm stunned that there's a 70% increase this month. So let's keep it going. What have we got to lose? Go download the podcast 5 times. Make me feel good about myself. Wait, that didn't come in, right? Yeah, it did.
Well, hey, and here's the thing. The more downloads, the more popularity we can gain, the more you guys tell people about the podcast, the more feedback you give us about what you like about the podcast, so that we can make sure we're bringing you the content that you like, then the better opportunities we have to get in front of sponsors who can help bring prizes that we're not going to keep. Those prizes are for you guys. So
we pass along every prize. We don't keep anything, but we pass it along. I had to share the screenshot that YouTube or Google Plus chose for the podcast, and it looks like I'm about to sneeze.
Oh, I thought that was just at one point while I was talking and you were having a nap. Bad cop.
Oh, I'm sorry. What was that?
Nothing different than usual. Anyways.
Ryling says everything's awesome.
Well, it is when you're part of a team.
Yes. That's right. The Caching in the Northwest team.
Only the
and by
best
the way,
team ever.
I don't know if you know this. Apparently, you're Canadian.
Oh. Well, that works out well.
Ryling says so. He is Canadian.
And he is our fact checker.
Yeah. There you go. Research department is doing well again tonight.
Awesome.
And we do have to share one from Dora Moore. I'm going to let you read that.
So Dora Moore shares with our audience that, and I believe she is making reference to our special spot from Retro earlier in the show. And she says, "Oh, he's going to be teased in person too. What was with that voice?"
We talked about it before the show. We're convinced he was in a location where he couldn't speak in a normal voice. So you get down a little closer to the microphone and you whisper.
And you sound just a little bit creepy.
So either he was late at night and he didn't want to wake somebody up, or he was in the bathroom.
Yeah. Well, if he was in the bathroom, he maybe would have had some better acoustics. I don't know.
Well, if it's a lot of tile, there's an echo. That's usually not preferred.
There you go. Reverb.
If you want good audio, I'm going to share this with you, and you're recording it on your smartphone and you're worried about the ambient noise, get into your car and shut the doors. Roll the windows up. Close. A car really has pretty good sound deadening, and you won't get any echoes, and you'll have decent audio. So there you go. If you need a makeshift studio, go to your car.
Good advice. So when you're recording for our show, your sample audio, your 15 seconds to tell us about your favorite cache or caching location, the GC code, and why it's your favorite cache or caching location. Record it in your car.
Yeah. If you want good, clean audio. Now, if you're out at a cache location and the birds are chirping, that's also good background. But if you're
nice
standing
ambient
by
noise.
the freeway, that's not good background noise.
Or a train. Yeah.
Or a train, yeah.
Airport.
Yeah, there's other things that are right there in the normal speech zone that will just drown you out and you'll be all muddy. So go to a wonderful location with birds or a car, either one.
Excellent. Hey, Wet Coaster's back.
Hey, White Coaster. He said maybe he was trying out for a job as an FM radio jock. Thank you. Thank you very much. And we'll join you later. Right now, let's play this song. I can't play a song because YouTube will block the video. So we're just going to... Land Monkey, will you sing and play your guitar for us?
Well, maybe.
That's it. That's all I know. Okay.
There you go.
Brylang says, milestone reached. 500 finds in 2015. Also, my 3,100th find. Same cache. Wow. That's impressive.
That is pretty good. He's been a busy little cacher.
That's right. So he's done 500 finds in 4 months. I'm thinking a 1,500 find year.
Yep.
Not that we're putting any pressure on you, but you've set the pace, not us.
That's right. So it's all on you, man. All right. Well, bad cop, what do you figure?
I think we should call it an evening. Thank you all for listening. I really appreciate you. Let's have a great May like we had a great April.
Yeah. Tell all your friends.
Go to an event this weekend.
Yes. Remember the scoop we got from Eric.
Yes. Go to an event and find a cache this weekend. You'll thank us later somehow.
Yeah. And when you go to an event and you go find a cache this weekend, remember to cache safely and cache often.
Sorry, I stepped on you there.
No, that's all right.
One more before we leave. White Coaster says Green Words had her 200th find when we were in Germany.
Hey, awesome. Congratulations to Green Words.
Okay. Good night, folks.
Night, folks.